Hello, my name is Simon Adams of Moonstar Board Games. In this series, I like to take a look at certain games which I love or really, really like and just talk and muse on why I like them. These aren't detailed or descriptive how to play these games or even how the games play themselves. If you are interested in the game as a result of listening to me talk about it, I would encourage you to go and find a how to play video, of which there will be many, many for the games that I'm going to be talking about this week. But please do that if you want a real strong description and a real good understanding of the mechanisms of the games that I talk about in this series. So, I thought this week I wanted to take a look at some of the games that brought me into the hobby, starting with Race for the Galaxy, which I've always played tabletop miniatures games, right? I've played 40K since I was like 12, 13. Um, I've always been in games. I even worked at a video games company after university. But I board games were kind of to the side, I guess you could say. Like we would play Monopoly during university, and I had a good time playing Monopoly. I have some good stories from those experiences, but I never really played, a hobby board game until I was in the Netherlands. I was on exchange in Leiden, and Barthélemy de Cote, I think his second name was. It was so long ago now. Just a lovely, lovely Frenchman brought to my apartment, mine and Anais's apartment. He brought along the game Race for the Galaxy. And I had no idea what Race for the Galaxy was, but assured me this is like an award winning game. It just came out, it's an award winning game. So that gives you an idea of how long I've been board gaming for since Race for the Galaxy was released. Um, and we sat down and we played it. And Race for the Galaxy is a tableau building game in which you are pulling cards from a shared deck, putting those cards into your quote unquote tableau, meaning in front of you. I dislike that term tableau so much. You're putting the cards on the table in front of you, right? And these cards will produce resources which you can trade or sell. Well, you sell for victory points, and you're trying to create an engine whereby these cards, which are represented by worlds, there are development cards which you can consider as like an upgrade to your civilization of worlds. You're ultimately attempting to acquire victory points and win through victory points. I have Race for the Galaxy in here. I have three of the expansions. The first expansion has a bunch of new cards, which you add to that deck. A bunch of new worlds, a bunch of new development cards. And then the other expansions kind of add new mechanisms. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've never played the other expansions with the new mechanisms. I have them. I bought a nice wooden insert so I could have them, and I've never played them because the base game is just so fucking good. Bart and I, we like, and I don't say this lightly. I understand that this might cause people to be like, no, you didn't. We broke the base game. Like, we broke it. We played it over the course of that year hundreds of times within a short time frame. We were playing maybe 4 or 5 games a night, every night. We were living in Holland, so you know what we were probably doing while we were we were playing. But we got to the point where, so when you start the game, you pick a starting world, and that starting world has a particular utility that kind of defines how you're going to go through the game. So maybe you get a world which is heavy into military, and you say, okay, well, now I have military. Now it's easier for me to acquire military worlds. Therefore, that's the path of least resistance. I'm going to go down that route. Other worlds come with resources. There are a bunch of different starting worlds, but we would know from the starting world who would win, like every single time. Like, didn't matter which starting world. We knew which was stronger against which in a pairing, and we knew which the strongest was. We could tell you, even like we would have other people come around and play, and we would just have them play 2 player, and we would take bets between him and I, like, who do you think's going to win, and like by the end we could more often than not call who was going to win. Now, that's not to say that the game isn't balanced. I'm not saying that. Well, I guess I am kind of saying that. What I'm saying is it takes a serious effort to figure out where the imbalances are. Now, people might think, well, it's not. How can it be imbalanced, or how can you get to that point when you're pulling cards, right? You're pulling cards from a shared deck, and you might not get the cards that you need. Well, again, you can go fishing for cards if you know every single card in that deck, which we did. We knew every single card in that deck. Um, Other than the cards in our opponent's hand, of course, we could tell which cards had come out and which cards were likely to be left. So there was a probability game for what was available to us at the end game. When to go fishing for cards as opposed to when to pull cards, what to play, how to play. Like, yes, there is randomness in how you which cards you are given or which cards you pull from the deck, but there are ways to mitigate and ways to find what you need in order to implement the strategy that you're employing. I appreciate that none of this sounds super exciting. I've worked like 12 hours a day for the past 7 days on a project for Moonstar board games, so I'm pretty tired. But I'm telling you, Race for the Galaxy is one of the best two-player games ever made. I don't know if I've played it three players a number of times, but as a two-player game, like Bart and I just smoking and playing race, it was such an incredible time. Now, I appreciate that my experience might be different from your experience because my experience has that kind of nostalgia of being in university and being in a foreign country and you know, partaking in activities that that certain country is known for the first time. Uh, but I've played it since, and everyone has loved this game. How long have we been talking? 7 minutes. Okay. Um, there is so the game is very symbol heavy, meaning that there are a lot of symbols in the game that refer to what you can do with cards or how you're manipulating the cards within your tableau or within your hand, or certainly when you're doing developments. Um, there are or which action you are choosing. Sorry. Um, there are a number of symbols, and people will say that that makes the game very, very hard to learn. I don't agree, and that has not been my experience. That has never been my experience with Race for the Galaxy. In fact, I would say that Race for the Galaxy is a fairly light game. When I teach people how to play Race, I walk them through the symbols one time, and then we play a round. Okay, and we play an open hand round where I can see their cards, they can see my cards, and I can talk them through on the cards what they might be thinking about doing or what strategy they might be employing or they might want to apply or um, what the individual cards what their rules are individually saying they can do. And commonly after that first open hand round, we just put it back, shuffle it up, and we play a game. So I'm sure other people have had problems with the iconography being the main way that information is communicated in the game, but it just has never been an issue for me. Maybe I'm just the greatest race teacher ever. No, I don't know about that. No, I just don't think I don't think it's a heavyweight game. I don't even really think it's a medium weight game. I think that this is a light game. I think if you like games, if you can play games like even Commander Magic, you can play Race, and it's not even it's a different game, right? Race is a tableau builder. You're playing with a shared deck. You're essentially building an engine for resources. You aren't attacking your opponent. Instead, what you are doing is building an engine to create victory points that will allow you to win once you reach a threshold. Either reach a threshold of points, or you have 12 cards in front of you. Um, so it's not a take that game like Magic. It's a much more casual affair than Magic and other CCGs. And even like I've already talked about Radlands, which kind of has a CCG feel. Like not does it kind of, it does have a CCG feel. Um, but Radlands has that shared deck idea that if we share the deck, then we create an all-encompassing game in one set of cards rather than needing to add in different cards. I will say the reason why I added the expansion for Race, the first expansion, just went right into the deck was because I never wanted to break the game again. And I appreciated people were probably listening to me and saying, "There's no way you broke this game. It's not possible. It's random. You pull cards at random and blah 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 blah." I'm tell we Bart and I over the course of 6 months we played the game hundreds of times, like maybe 300 or 400 times, I'd say. Because we would sometimes on a weekend we would just play the game all day, all day. That's how much we love this game. Like that's how enamored we were with this game, and I still am. I still have it. I pull it out quite often, and we'll just give it a bash. I don't use the app, Race for the Galaxy app. I don't want to play board games on app. To be frank, I have with a few games through the ages. I have the app for that, which I've played that quite a lot. Neuroshima Hex, I've played the app for that quite a lot. But that's because those games are the overhead of setup and managing through the ages is just a fucking pain. And even for Neuroshima Hex, I like Neuroshima Hex a lot. Maybe I'll talk about it. I don't know if I love it enough for it to be part of this series, um, but I feel like the rules aren't clear enough, or there's too many edge case situations that happen that really need the app. Um, but I would not, I wouldn't want to play Race on an app. The game is such a beautiful, elegant experience, and it is elegant. I don't care what people have to say about the icons. Pardon me, the game is simple, and the icons are not complicated, and no one I've ever taught it to has had issue with the icons, and I don't really understand why this kind of meta idea of Race came about, where someone said it once and then everyone just went, "Oh yeah, sure, sure, you're right, you're right." Anyway, Race for the Galaxy. I belying my tired exterior right now. I have to shoot a couple more of these. Belying my tired exterior is someone who loves board games and is in board games now and has a board game company and has all of this almost exclusively because I fell in love with Race for the Galaxy. It's Rio Grande Games, and I wow, I just my brain just was. Will I remember it before I Race for the Galaxy? I forget. Oh, I feel so bad. Thomas Lemon, gee. One of those weeks. No, the game came out in 2007, so that's how long I've been playing. That's how long I've been a hobby board gamer. Jeez. And it's still ranked 81 on Board Game Geek. I remember when it was like top 30, I think, at one point, or even higher. Um, I haven't played Puerto Rico. Okay. Go watch How to Play Race. I know I haven't really spoken about How to Play Race. I've just spoken about Race. But in Race, you pick an action. The next person can do the second part of that action if they desire. But like there's San Juan and Puerto Rico, and those kind of games are kind of lumped into the same. I've not played Puerto Rico. I have played San Juan. I prefer Race for the Galaxy. They're the same game. I just preferred the theme of Race for the Galaxy, and also there's more content. But please, please go buy Race for the Galaxy. Just do yourself a favor. It can't be expensive. It's been out for so long. How much is Race for the Galaxy these days? I bet it's not much. It's like $27. Go buy Race for the Galaxy. Stop what you're doing. Just go buy Race for the Galaxy. It's one of the literally one of the greatest games ever made. Ever made. It is so good. It's so good. Anyway, I'm Simon. Might have a coffee. See you in the next one.